You know, there's one thing I've noticed about myself is that I get better looking with age. The older I get, the better looking I get. And it seems, you know, a lot of people when they get older, they get kind of dumpy looking, they kind of let themselves go. But me, my God, I get better looking. And it must be really hard for you guys to focus on the products in the video when you got something that looks this good on camera. I mean, Jesus, have mercy. What's going on, folks? Welcome back. I was going to say welcome back to YouTube, but we're not doing that. What's going on, everyone out there in YouTube land? Today, we have probably the biggest sub-ohm tank I've reviewed on the channel in a while. Probably. And you guys know the Smok TFV series. There's probably 100 different ones on the market. TFV4, TFV, was there a 6? TFV8, TFV12, the Baby Beast, the Prince, blah, 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 blah. Well, today, we got one that caters to the high wattage, cloud blowing mofos out there. If you like things big with a lot of airflow, a lot of clouds, and a lot of power, then today's tank might be, or should be, in your lineup. The Smok TFV16. This is one big, bad, mother effing tank. Sitting on top, the Boxer Classic. Vaping it at 100 watts, and we're actually going to try it at 120 watts near the end of the video. Now, if you guys want more information on this tank, aside from watching the video, you can check out smoktech.com. But other than that, we're going to dive down, and we're going to check this out. It looks like all the previous ones, but there are a few minor changes to it. So with all that said, let's dive down. So inside the box, you got the Smok TFV16 sub-ohm tank that includes one drip tip, two very large coil heads, a bubble glass tank, standard glass tank. You got a tank band, which looks pretty interesting, a extra O-ring, extra grommet, and of course a user manual. So the TFV16 measuring in at 27 millimeters. At the very bottom of the base, it bumps up to 28. And if you're using the bubble glass, you're looking at 32 millimeters in diameter. This thing measures 60 millimeters tall. This is a huge, huge sub-ohm tank. At the top, we got a 16 millimeter resin drip tip. It's not 810, it's not 510. It's one of those little sleeves that actually slides over the O-ring, which means you can't use your custom drip tips on this one, but the one provided actually is not all that bad. We have the same locking feature as the previous ones. There is a slight update to this one. We still have the locking feature with the push button, which I'm a big fan of. So push the button in, slide open the cap, and you'll notice that the grommet is no longer there. So you got this large fill port now, and you don't have the grommet kind of closing off the fill port. The grommet is on the backside now, so it doesn't get in the way when you try to fill the tank. Close it, it's going to click, lock into place, and it stays locked until you push that button. The bubble glass holds up to 9 mLs of liquid. This is a lot of juice, but let me tell you, these coil heads are humongous, so you're going to need that 9 mLs of juice. They do include a standard glass tank. They don't really advertise how much it holds, but judging by the coil size, I'm going to say maybe 3, maybe 4 mils. So you probably want to use the bubble glass. And they also include this very awkward looking tank band that you can put on if you want to protect the glass, because since the glass sticks out further than the atomizer, if it tips over, you can crack it. But once you do put it on, it's going to look something like that, which is kind of ugly, but it will protect the glass from breaking. At the bottom, we got two airflow slots that measure in at 13.5 millimeters, and these are huge. This thing has tons and tons of airflow. At the bottom, gold-plated 510 pin as always, and it's pretty much designed like the previous ones. It's just that everything is much bigger, including these coil heads. These are probably some of the biggest coil heads I have ever seen on a sub-ohm tank. And luckily, they include 2 different coil heads inside of the kit. They have 3 in total. The one that you can purchase separately is going to be the TFV16 triple mesh coil. That one ohms out to a 0.15, rated for 90 watts. Once again, those are sold separately, but they will include these 2 huge coils. Both are mesh coils. You're going to get the 0.17 mesh coil. That's best vaped at 120 watts, and then you'll get the dual mesh coil, which is a 0.12. That one's rated 80/160, best vaped at 120 watts. And these things, man, look at the size of this coil. This is crazy. Do you guys realize after about 3 or 4 years of reviewing these TFV tanks that I don't have a clue what the hell TFV stands for? If anyone out there has an idea, I would love to know in the comment section. Now, we got it on the Boxer Classic. I cranked it up to 120. I've been enjoying it at about 100 watts, but for testing's sake, we're going to crank it up to see if it could do 120. I got some Strawberry Jam Monster 3 milligram loaded up, airflow wide open, and even though I'm pushing a little over 40 and my lungs are kind of old and diseased and, you know, full of tar, I'm probably not going to do this tank justice like, let's say, a healthy 25-year-old would, but I'm going to give it my best. So here we go. The density of the vapor. It's so heavy, it just goes to the floor. The flavor on this thing, nice, wet, moist, saturated flavor. A nice warm vape, actually, at 120 watts. And the airflow, in my taste, my opinion, I could probably turn it down a little bit. I would enjoy it more at 100 watts, but it's doing great at 120. If you like a really oversaturated, hot, crazy vape with a lot of clouds, this is going to be it right here. Now, keep in mind, this will burn through juice, so more than likely you're only going to use that bubble glass tank, and since the coil heads are so big, using that straight glass really doesn't give you that much juice capacity. Now, the drip tip, they changed up a little bit. They have these sleeve-style drip tips, which means you can't really use your own drip tip, but I will say the tip that comes provided is way better than the tips they used to use. Those Cobra tips that were like that big, yeah, these are way better. The top fill, Smok has always done a really good top fill job. You got the locking top cap with the push button. And one annoying feature on these TFV tanks is that the grommet would always block the hole. So when you're filling it up, the air couldn't escape and all the juice would come shooting back at you. So what they did is they put the grommet under the cap, and now you have that large fill port. You could pump the 9 mils of juice in there and not have to worry about the air getting trapped inside. Lots of airflow, of course. This is a direct lung tank. It's not for the mouth-to-lung vapors. You can close it off, but it's, once again, it's not a mouth-to-lung vape. What I like about the tank is Smok actually included 2 different coil heads. There's 3 different ones in total, but they're all high wattage coil heads. So it's not a big tank that only has like 50 watt coil heads. This is a monster of a tank that includes monster sized coils, suited for people that like, you know, crazy amounts of vapor with lots of power. So I don't think there's any other coil heads that work inside of here, because I have not seen coil heads this big. So yeah, this is a big boy. So if you're worried about size, not going to be for you. If you get a nice big mod that it sits on top of like this Boxer, this is the perfect pairing. And yeah, I have no complaints with it. I had no issues with it. The only thing is the tank band looks kind of cheesy. Probably wouldn't use it myself, but if you're worried about breaking the glass tank, it's probably a good idea to wrap that tank. But that's it. TFV16. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hate the video and you hate me, give it a thumbs down. I'll see you guys on the next one, and make sure you guys build safe, and as always, vape on.